he did not give hidayat. So Allah is making it very clear that hidayat is only in His hands. The talk is very simple. The people who have belief in the things of this world or give some even little importance to asbab, to the means, then to fulfill their hajat, right, they will present asbab in front of musabbibul asbab. Asbab means. Musabbibul asbab is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? That we will make dua, oh Allah, a businessman will say, oh Allah, through this business, give me success. You understand? That I'll repeat, that the people of this dunya, if they have even little importance or give some little significance to the asbab, they get affected, mutasir, affected by the asbab, then what will happen? That even in front of Allah, in the court of Allah, they will use these asbab, and through these asbab they will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them success. But a person who has full yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he'll say, oh Allah, do as you wish. Today, all of us in general work on the means and then ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the means. We are limiting the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we give dawah to everyone about this. Work. Work hard. And then rely on Allah. Do what you could do. What's in your hand? Do what you could do. And then leave everything to Allah. It's not even possible that you make all your effort on asbab and then you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The person who works on the means, he cannot be honest with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You gotta listen to me carefully. People have thought that the way of success is that you make effort on asbab. After you do that, have full reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It cannot be possible. It is a fitrat of insan, it's in the nature, that whatever he makes an effort on, his ummeed and his hope is associated with that thing. So how can that be possible that you work on one thing and you have hope and reliance on something else? But rather the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to look at that. That what are the requirements to get the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So fulfill those requirements. The promise of Allah will be with you. The help of Allah will be with you. That's what's essential. You gotta listen to me carefully. And if you do this, then this is against what other people do. People might have a reaction to it. Why? Because people don't make an effort on this iman, this yaqeen. So they don't know how to get from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Listen to me carefully. Asbab are not the way. Asbab, which means, is not the way to get from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People, all the Muslims are in a state of loss. Why? Because they think asbab is the way to get from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we put all our effort on the asbab, and then at the end, at the night, we rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, don't. The Islamic kainat, the things of this world that we see running, This is not the way to get from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You gotta listen to me carefully. The way to get from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only through the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The creation of Allah and asbab are not the means to get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He likes to repeat everything 3 times so that we understand. Allah's deen is His way to get from Him. Why? It's because there's no change in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There could always be change in the means. So the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no change. No one could say that, at the time of the Sahaba, the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were different. Now the promises are different. No. There's no change. In the means, in the asbab, there's always change. Sometimes there are clouds, sometimes there are no clouds, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's not raining, sometimes the sun comes out, sometimes the sun doesn't come out, sometimes there's an eclipse. All these asbab, they keep changing. So you cannot, depend or think that Allah's help is dependent on these things, these means which keep changing. Because that same Allah and the same help of Allah that was with the Sahaba is with us. There is no change. La tabil Arabic. I'm sorry, I'm slurring now. There's no change in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's no change in the route to attain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People think that today work on the asbab and then have great hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah will do something. Allah hi karne wala, Allah will do it. But take benefit of these means. But even the mushrikeen of Medina would do the same. They would make effort on their land and then say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do it. One non-Muslim who was a doctor, he started treating Rasulullah and he said, "O Muhammad, I will treat you, but listen, only Allah will cure you." This is the yaqeen even of a non-Muslim, a mushrik, at the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What is the difference between a mushrik and us today? That a mushrik is saying, I will use the means, whatever means, medications, and algorithms, treatment algorithms, to treat you. Then, once all these asbab are all used, then he even relies on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ask the mushrikeen and who made the sky and who made the sun and the earth, they will all say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it. How to attain from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What are the real quote unquote means? If the means of this world were the source of getting from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then everyone would be successful. But most people are not successful. The only way to benefit from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to follow His commandments. Present a'mal, good deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Based on that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's good faisala, good decisions will come down. That when Rasulullah was going on Isra and Miraj and he saw light, he saw things going up and down. He asked Rasulullah, what is this? He said, these are the amal that are going up in the sky. And based on the amal of the people, decisions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come. He's repeating this. That is why it's very important to change our yaqeen. That the means don't have the ability to do anything. The beings of this world don't have the ability to do anything. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does everything. And the real way and the real path to attain and to benefit from the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not the means of this world. Rather, it is the a'mal that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught the Sahaba that from 2 rakat they could get anything. They could make it rain. They could stop rain. They could bring, even for salt, they would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how to pray 2 rakats. That is why if you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, you need to use this rule. Today, a doctor thinks, how can I benefit from the patient financially? Today our jazba, our attitude is not that how can I benefit the patient. We think that how can the patient benefit me? No. Huh? No, it's fine. Doctor charges $500, 500 rupees for a method. By selling a generic, one is a name brand medication, one is a generic. We package the generic into the name brand box and selling that for 500 rupees. He is worried how through this generic medication I could make the same money as I was making from the name brand. There's no benefit in this. This is what I'm saying. There are 2 things in every amal, in every action. 2 things essential. 1, ikhlas, sincerity. And number 2 is ihsan, sifat ihsan. What are the 2 things? Ikhlas and ihsan. That is why we should introspect into our lives. Who are we doing the amal for? If things are not happening and the unseen treasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are not opening for us, then maybe there's deficiency in our ikhlas. We should be cognizant that we have to be presented in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One day we will need to appear to Him. We're not going to present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the asbab, the means. No, we will present to Him the a'mal. what hurts me is that people work and spend their whole life on the asbab, and they have full reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they think they're very religious. And they think that on the day of judgment they have to present the asbab, not the amal. So they don't even work on their amal to bring a class of their amal. The promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are associated with the amal. You want to benefit from the promises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do the amal. There is no promise on the means. That, oh, if you eat this medication, you'll get shifa. No promise. So there was three people that were stuck in a cave. So each one thought what amal he did that he could present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that was with the class. So one person said, oh, I had very old parents. Right? And they were very tired. And it was in the middle of the night. And they asked for water. And by the time that I got there, they went to sleep. So then I waited all night. When they woke up, I gave water. It's a sifat of ihsan. So the rock moved a little bit. Number two, that my cousin's sister was the most beloved to me. I had a crush on her. She would negate, she would refuse. Then one day she came to me, and I thought about giving her 120 dinars with the intention that I'll be with her alone. And I sat between her legs. And there was nothing that would stop me from committing zina. But because of you, I stopped. And I did not even demand the 120 dinars back. I did this only for you, oh Allah. Ya Allah, you accepted it? Please remove the rock. The rock that's blocking the cave. So then it moved a little bit more. So first was ihsan, the water. Second was ikhlas. Now there's a third person. The halat and conditions will come. The halat and conditions that will come when we don't fulfill the rights of others. Those halat and conditions will not be removed by doing ibadat. Today we are not fulfilling the haqq of Allah and the haqq of the creation, and we're staying in the masjid, we're doing so much ibadat, making dua, oh Allah, correct my relationship with this person. First correct and fulfill the right of others, then do ibadat. We're having bad wheelings and dealings with people, and then we make dua, oh, make my relationship with that partner of mine I'm better. Correct your ma'mulat, your wheeling and dealing. Then ask Allah. And he comes back to the story, the third person. And I had an employee. He left without taking his income. And that income was with me. So I thought about it. If he had taken his money, he would have done something with it of benefit. So I thought that I should use this money and invest it. After a while, he came back. And by that time there was a huge herd of sheep. And when that employee came, he said, all of this is yours. And the employee said, oh, just give me what you owed me. Don't play around with it. He said, no, I'm not joking around with you. I had invested your money and now this is the profit of it. Take it all this. He said, Allah, I only did this for you, and if this ihsan is something that you accepted, please remove this rock. So then when the third person mentioned this, the rock moved completely. So what are these three people doing? Are they using the means, calling 911, calling the police, calling the firefighters, calling a helicopter? No, they're not using means. They don't even have the realization of means. They are presenting amal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And based on the amal, the unseen help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is opening. Step by step. A person who's intelligent is who understands his responsibility and starts preparing for death before death comes. And a weak person is a person who gets lost in the dunya and has big promises from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. Oh, I am from the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going to go in Jannah. This person is going to be a failure. A person who will be successful who makes effort on amal, and then he hopes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is independent. He could use the means and fulfill his needs. And he could do it without the means also. Why? Because this person is not restricting Allah's help to certain needs. He's not saying, oh Allah, through my business give me success. No, he's doing amal. He's saying, oh Allah, give barakah in my risk. Allah will give barakah in his risk whichever way he wants. One Sahabi says that I've eaten dates during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr, Umar, Ali, Uthman and Ali. I've eaten more than 1,000 dates. Hazar 50 man. He had 17 dates that he got at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah put so much barakah in those 17 days that he says that I was alive during the period of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr, Umar, Ali, Uthman and Ali. And I ate so much that over 1,000, I believe, I ate dates just from those 17 dates. So much barakah. You understand? This is called barakah. You have these 17 dates in a bag. You just open the bag and start eating. What he saw were 17 dates were in that bag. But he says, throughout these 4 different generations, I benefited from these dates. At the time of Usman radiallahu anhu, this bag was lost. Why did he lose the bag? It was because of the amal at that time. There was no ita'at at the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Let me repeat the story to correct it or to refine it. It's that Usman radiallahu anhu says that at the time of Rasulullah gave me a bag with 17 dates. And those 17 dates lasted me the whole period of time of Rasulullah, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, and my time. But during my time, I lost this bag and the dates that were in it. And Muhammad Sahib says that the reason he lost it was because there was no more ita'at in the ummah. When the ita'at is not in the ummah, then Allah lifts His help from the ummah. Understand? The miracles that saints have, this is not to introduce people to saints or say, oh, this saint has this type of miracle happen to him. No. So what happens is that they start worshipping him and they start asking for dua. Rather, we need to introduce people to the amal of that saint. Oh, this person prays tahajjud, right? And such long tahajjud. He does this, he does that. The amal. If we introduce them to the amal, then the people will be inspired to do amal themselves. Through the miracles of the awliya, of the saints, we start introducing them to their karamat, their miracles, then what will happen is that rather than doing amal, we will start worshipping them and relying on them to do dua and worship for us. Miracles of the saints is not to fulfill our needs. No. It's to show the power of amal. This is not a miracle of the saints or the anbiya. There's nothing that we should associate with them. No, this is to show the power of amal. Allah gives them miracles to show the power of what? Of the amal that they did. That is why a person who makes the work like the anbiya did, who makes the work like the sahaba did, then Allah will help them like He helped the anbiya, how He helped the sahaba. Why? Because Allah's promise is with the amal, not with the asbab. So the conclusion of what I'm saying, that through da'wat we need to get ikhlas of this kalima, la ilaha illallah. That is how we started. And what is the ikhlas of la ilaha illallah? Is that it stops that person from and that much learning and making effort on iman is fard ayn. It's compulsory. How much iman? That much iman that helps and stops him from committing sins. The weakest iman. After that, there is no level of iman. That a person sees sins being committed and he feels bad in his heart and he makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the lowest level of iman. Listen and think about this hadith and introspect into your own mind and your own heart. Do I have even this amount of iman or not? That sins are being committed each and every second of our life, that we see, that we hear in the news, that we see and witness ourselves. And we have effect or no effect? Do we make dua? Do we make dua for the ummah? That it saves us from and it saves people from sinning and introduces each one and every person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and brings each and every person into the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Think about this. That's why we're here. If you really think about this hadith, then you'll be in shock. What is my level of iman? A person who right now in this majlis is thinking like this, then that person has in his heart that yes, I'm going to make an effort on my iman. A person who's just hearing this and says, oh, I've heard this hadith before, right? And that person will not, he is not even ready to make an effort on iman. He's repeating. What does it mean by change it by the heart? The lowest level of iman is that when you see things sin being committed, you change it by your heart. The only thing that could change something through the heart is dua. فَيُغَيِّرْهُ بِقَلْبِهِ. Something we should think about. In our 24 hours life, all the sins being committed in the world, and all the batil that's taking place, that we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, please finish all of this. You will see in the masjid people crying. And when you ask them, you says, oh yes, my house was on fire, that's why, and it burned, that's why I'm here. But oh, I don't know. You ask another person, he's crying. Why are you crying? Oh, I'm unemployed. You will not find, and it's very difficult to find, a person who is crying and his beard is wet. Why? Because what is happening to the ummah that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we get ikhlas in the kalima la ilaha illallah, which he already defined and we went over, which prevents you from munkar, from haram. When we get ikhlas in the kalima, then we'll get ikhlas in the a'mal also. We'll get sincerity in the a'mal. Our sins, look in our prayer that what is the reason why I'm sinning. Why? Because sins are committed when our salah is imperfect. People think sins are done because of other reasons, different asbab, worldly asbab. No, sins are committed when we don't pray our salah correctly. Hadith of Rasulullah to the nearest meaning, that person who prays salah correctly, that person doesn't commit sin. So talash, make investigation in our salah. What deficiency is in our salah that is giving me an opportunity to listen to shaitan and commit evil? What should I say? So before we actually commit any sin, right, or any disobedience, there's deficiency in ibadat. in amal. Then there's deficiency in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the truth. It is impossible that a person who is so obedient of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best manner, in the most perfect manner. He's praying his salah in such a perfect manner. It is impossible that that person who's using his limbs of his body correctly in salah, that he uses it inappropriately outside of salah. No. So a person who commits a sin, he first has deficiencies in a'mal. After he has deficiencies in the amal, that becomes a gateway for him to commit sin. You understand? One person, he was carrying a plate with soup. Some of that soup fell. While Yusuf saw this, he started screaming. He was an old worker who was doing this. He said, "Oh, fix your prayer, fix your prayer." He went to Hazrat and said, "My salah is pretty good." He said, No. Hazrat said, No. If your namaz was perfected, you would not have dropped the soup. The limbs of the body were obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in salah. There is no way they could be disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outside of salah. This is the reality. Problem is that we don't obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in salah. How can we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of salah? Alhamdulillah. Ibn Abbas and Ibn Masud say that a salah that does not prevent a person from munkar, from sins, that salah becomes a source of creating a distance between Allah and that person. That is why work on perfecting your salah. You want some coffee? I should have asked you before. The more our salah is perfected, the more our deen will be perfected. The reason for the destruction of deen that is happening all across the world is because of our salah. That is why in Dawah and going out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the real thing is to attain perfection, a level of perfection in our ibadat. And how? Two things: Iman and ilm. Those are the two ingredients to attain perfection in our amal. Rasulullah says to the Nisrael, the person who wants ilm and iman, Allah will give him. Allah has said these two things, Rasulullah has mentioned these two things together, ilm and iman. And we are negligent of the importance of both of those two things. That we are ignorant of what is ilm, and we are ghafil, negligent of the importance of iman. And what is iman? Iman is ikhlas, right? These are the two requirements for our ibadat to be accepted. These are the two requirements. Shart. do everything with ilm. That how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to fulfill this commandment of His. And number two is that how I can bring ikhlas. So bring everything onto the path of ilm. Iman and ilm. There is no difference in terms of how important they are. Because the only way our amal will be corrected is based on these two pillars. Okay? This will go on maybe. He's in Jalal today. So I need to amp up a little bit. Just like how salah is fard on each and every person, the ilm, the knowledge of salah is also fard. Becoming an alim is farz kifaya, but having the knowledge of salah is farz ayn. Farz kifaya, what does that mean? Farz kifaya, it means that one person in the community does it, it's enough. Farz ayn, each and every person is. Right, Yahya? These are my two American brothers. Coming in, having the knowledge of the ilm of each and every action that we will do in our daily life, it's farz ayn. Everyone cannot become an alim, and there's no need of that either. What is the difference? Everyone has this responsibility that they research and understand and make an effort that what Allah wants from me at each and every point and junction of my life. And He says that in actuality, this person is an alim. And a person who has spent 6 years in the madrasa is called a Maulvi. How are we going to understand and realize what Allah wants from me at each and every point of my life? Is by being in the companionship and the stewardship of the ulama. Becoming a Maulvi is farz kifaya. And having knowledge of every action we do is farz ayn. He's repeating 3 times. Irrespective if you're a male or female. Ilm is not having the knowledge of something only. Ilm is something which is in practice. And what is the ikhlas of ilm? Is that it brings taqwa in your life. It brings the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life. He recites an ayat of the Quran that only the people who fear Allah are the ulama. There are 2 types of ilm. One is the ilm of the tongue and the other is the ilm of the heart. The ilm of the tongue will become a source of destruction for him on the Day of Judgment. And vice versa for the other. A person who has ilm and he does not practice upon it, then his ilm is stuck in his brain, it's not in his heart. clear thing. A person who does not follow the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the ilm that he has been given, then his heart is empty from iman. Why? Because he has information, he does not have ilm in actuality. And there is no difference between him and a non-Muslim, because a non-Muslim could attain information as well. Non-Muslims, when they talk or listen to the effort of deen, they think with their brain. They don't think with their heart. For the moment, Islam reaches the heart. That is why the only ilm, knowledge that will benefit is the ilm of the heart. The ilm that's in the heart. And a metric to find out if your ilm is being of benefit is how much itaat you have, how much obedience you have. People have a lot of information about everything. You can go online and get a lot of information. That will actually become a source of increase in the questioning on the Day of Judgment. The purpose of ilm is itaat. Even if he has small, little amount of ilm. He has one person who has a lot of knowledge, but no practice. No use. Why? Because on the Day of Judgment, no one will be given a position or status based on their ilm. It will only be given based on amal. The purpose of ilm is not to just attain ilm. Yesterday's Hayat al-Sahaba. The purpose of ilm is what? What, Bazi? Amal, practice. That is why for a Hafiz, you'll keep reading and you'll ascend in the levels and the ranks of Jannah. What does it mean? That how much ever he practiced on what he learned, that's how he will be elevated accordingly. Muslim. Muslim gave very good dawah last night to some medical students who live here, but they went to Russia to do medical school. So he gave dawah in Russia. So a Muslim, a Hafiz, wherever he stops reciting, that will be the end of his ascension in Jannah. The question on the Day of Judgment will not be how much knowledge you had. It will be how much did you practice on the knowledge that you attained. In this world, you will get a certificate, you'll get everything, you'll get respect. But on the Day of Judgment, you'll not get anything if you don't have amal. That's why I keep saying this. What are the requirements? The 2 requirements for the amal to be accepted. What are the 2 requirements? Ikhlas, which is iman, right? Iman is the ikhlas. And the second? When we go out in the path of Allah, we need to go out in the path of Allah with ilm, with knowledge, not as ignorant people. the way ilm has come to us is through the Anbiya going out in the path of Allah and the Sahaba going out in the path of Allah. We have attained the highest levels of knowledge. Allah is ordering Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, convey yourself. Allah is giving Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam a responsibility, convey whatever ilm I have given you. Whatever we see, the means are not masnoon, are not the way that Rasulullah used to spread da'wat and ilm. They're not masnoon. What does it mean? That Anbiya did not use these means. What he's inferring is like social media, internet, WhatsApp. We sometimes think, oh, we are giving good da'wah, we're forwarding something, right? This is not masnoon. It's not masnoon, then this amal becomes very hollow. It has not much effect. It could actually have negative effect. When you send out a video of what's happening in Burma, people start looking at those videos as a source of entertainment. And you tell them, oh, and you go and make mujahida, and you go to his house, and you tell him this is the ahwal of Burma. He says, oh yeah, I already watched the video, I already know. He becomes immune to dawah. There's only two ways to spread ilm. Listen to me carefully. One is the companionship of ulama. The other is to go out in the path of Allah. Only two things. What are the two things? Someone tell me? These are the two masnoon ways. If we don't use these two ways and we use other ways, then we'll create an organization. We will not be on the effort of the Sahaba. And once we do that, the ta'assur, the effect, will no longer be there. There will be no effect in our dawah. Very dangerous thing. The movement will become very famous, but there will be no effect. Only two ways ignorance left humanity at the time of the Sahaba. One is companionship of the ulama. The other is going out in the path of Allah. That is why at one time Rasulullah is doing tashkil of 70 qurra to go to the people of Najran. Najran have Islam, but there was no ilm. So there was deficiency in their amal. Why? Because they didn't have ilm. So he made the ulama amongst the Sahaba mutaharrik. He made them move in the path of Allah. They attained ilm and went in the path of Allah. The whole purpose of going out in the path of Allah is to extinguish the ignorance of humanity and make them attain the knowledge of who Allah is. It's a very big misconception that qital, which is fighting, that all the virtues of going out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is for qital. Nafar, going out in the path of Allah, the purpose at the time of the Sahaba was to take people out of Jahannam and enter them into paradise. Rasulullah says that continuous meaning that rather than killing people, non-Muslims, give them dawah and make them come into the fold of Islam. This will become more pleasing to me than you killing them. That is why even at the time of war, Rasulullah, the Sahaba are giving dawah. At the time when they were fighting the Romans, Jarjir was one of the commanders of the army. Khalid bin Walid is about to fight him. He's giving dawah to Jarjir. We don't want to kill you. Come into the fold of Islam. Allah saw this. Allah saw the jazba of the Sahaba. And based on that, Khalid bin Walid, in the middle of the war, becomes a source of Jarjir coming into the fold of Islam. Okay, we have a big misconception. But the Sahaba used to go out in the path of Allah, na'udhu billah, to fight. This is the biggest ignorance of humanity. And why? Because we're not going out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and extinguishing this ignorance. We go out in the path of Allah. Why? Because it is an amr of Allah, a command of Allah. And this is the way Islam will be established. The Sahaba went to go teach people of Najran. The people of Najran received them and slaughtered all of them. If this going on in the path of Allah was because of qital, then the 70 Qurra would have gone with their swords and with their armory. This big jamaat of ulama. Qurra and ulama, muallimeen, teachers. My dear respected brothers, that's why I'm saying, what is the main purpose of going out in the path of Allah? To take humanity out of the ignorance. Hazrat Umar used to say, if three things were not there, I would not want to stay in this world. Anyone know the three things? One is path of Allah, one is long sujood, and third is halqas of teaching and learning. Dawat and ta'aleem are such two things. There is no replacement of these two things. These are two things which complement each other. Just like roti and curry. They complement each other. They both complement each other. Da'wah Tabligh, and ilm. Going out in the path of Allah without ilm, there will be ignorance. And ilm without doubt spread ignorance also. Muslim that is why the ulama told to travel like clouds travel with water. This is the main purpose of going out in the path of Allah. This is the purpose. That is why make the intention that we need to go out in the path of Allah, and we need to become a source of reminder for others to go out in the path of Allah. Leave your place. Don't worry. Oh, I'm not making much money here, but there's a position of a janitor open in Newcastle. So what do people do? People leave India and go there. For dunya, it's becoming easy. But no one says that, oh, no go. When it comes to deen, people say, no, you don't need to go, you can do amal here. So make intention. Muslim, finish the amal. Oh. This is the maqsad of the purpose of going out in the path of Allah. Make intention to go out in the path of Allah. To go out in the path of Allah. So everyone makes intention. Those who are spending 1 year make intention to go for 5 months in Beirut. Those who have spent 3 days make intention for 40 days. Those who have spent 40 days go for 4 days. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me and you and all of us a clear understanding what I said and be able to put it into practice. Forgive me if I said anything wrong. The good thing about Shastra is that it repeats